I want to paint you a picture. It's Friday afternoon, maybe you work in an office and you close your laptop up and you pack it away in your bag and you walk out the door whistling a tune. You get to your car, listen to a bit of music, sun shining maybe, and you're feeling good. Maybe that evening, have a glass of wine, watch a bit of Netflix. Saturday morning, get up, go play a round of golf, jump on the motorbike, do something that interests you. Life is good, feeling relaxed. Sunday morning, yeah, you're still feeling good. Get up, I go to church, enjoy that. And I always enjoy Sunday lunch, one of my favourite meals of the week with the family. Always have a bit of a fry up. Come 3 o'clock, I notice something changes. It's like the frequency changes. There's a switch flicks, and all of a sudden I start to feel a little bit of anxiety just around the solar plexus. And I wonder where this comes from. Now, there's nothing in my mind that is saying to me that I'm having nervous thoughts or telling me anything, but the body has started to respond. So it's almost like the smoke is there and the fire alarm is starting to go off, but there's no visible flames. That, my friend, is the Sunday Scaries, and I am just curious as to why it feels so physical and what it's all about. Now, thinking about it over the last couple of weeks, I don't know that it is necessarily to do with work specifically, or it is to do with the time off, although both have interesting elements in terms of there's agency and obligation in one and the other. I think it's more to do with transitions. I think we as humans are not great often at transitions, and it's the amount of effort that we've had to put into to get the big wheel turning during the week, and then we take our break, and then we know that we've got to come back again and transition across, put in momentum and get that wheel moving again. And I think our nervous system picks up on this very quickly mid-Sunday afternoon, and because the amygdala is sparking and it's sending out warnings, and we anticipate that as a threat on the horizon, and the fire alarm, shall we say, starts sounding in the body. And one of the things I've been thinking about quite recently is this something to do with the modern workplace? I wonder, was it always like this, or is it just the nature of how we break up the weekend and we have a very finite specific time in the modern sanitized office work environment? And also tied in with that is the nature of the modern work, all these open loops. There's nothing closed. It's the emails and the projects. Like, I look at my projects, I probably have about 20 or 30 projects on the go at any one time. Now, they're not huge, but there are elements within projects, and some may be bigger than others. And then as a to-do list, I have at least 70 items sitting on my to-do list at any one time. Probably about 50% of them are elements that need followed up with other people, but there's a mental energy, or there's a mental expenditure there, just keeping those items open, even though they're written down. And I think the brain in this situation, knowing what is on the horizon, defensively starts sparking into life, trying to impose order on the potential disorder that is coming. It sees threat. It wants to set out the protection force field. It knows there's booby traps and snipers and whatever else have you out there, and it wants to make sure that you're defended. And then, so that's kind of the smoking alarm initially starts sounding, and then probably towards the end of the evening, the thoughts start percolating forth as a result of the sense of threat that happens. And the reoccurring thought for me is, do I have it in me to handle what is coming? Now, I've been on this earth a good long time. I've been through a few scrapes. Yes, I should be able to handle it. I've handled it every week from hitherto to now. But that's always the question that comes up in me, and it troubles me that I ask that question. If you also find yourself in a similar position, I suspect it's probably because you're a conscientious, relational type person. You take responsibility seriously. You know there are people relying on you, maybe people relying on you to do your job within work. You could be a train driver and there's people relying on you to take them places, and you've got to do that safely. Also as well, you have people relying on you at home to feed, water and clothe them. And there's a lot of tension and fear that builds up. And I say, especially if you're relational, you don't want to let people down. And that's one area that I always struggle with. And as I say, I go back to that question, do I have the capacity to deliver? And in this modern workplace where there is risk of unemployment, we're only ever as good as our last performance, and we feel like we have to deliver every day. And another point I would make as well, my third point, is that there's more to this than work being hard or tiring, as well as the transition across to it. I think a lot of us understand how we are different at home to who we are at work. We have to sometimes make a transition. We have to step up. We have to behave slightly differently when we go into work. And there's a dissonance there, especially if your work demands a behavior that is not naturally of your disposition. And we're living for 40 hours as someone else. And oftentimes we're living inside a story that we don't even fully believe in, but we have to play along as if we do. So there's a question here, I think, as well, about authenticity. And I think as well, for a lot of people, that dissonance really rubs. And then the final point I would say is that so many of us, once we're reflecting about this, and it's the dissonance and the hard work, there is a link between task and identity. And whenever those two become fused, you will say, I work in business, I'm a fireman, I drive a train, I'm a builder. That is who we become. And if we fail to deliver in work, and we are working in almost with an incoherent, a dissonance between our personality and the type of work, there is always that fear that we won't deliver, and if we don't deliver, it affects our identity, and it makes us feel, it has an impact on our self-esteem. So we can see how this all ties in together. So what do we tend to do on Sunday evening? If we're probably like most people and we're honest, we'll doom scroll, we'll look at the news, we'll find some way to distract ourselves. I even have one family member who will stay up as late as possible on a Sunday evening, because apparently the later you stay up, the longer the day lasts and the further away the Monday morning is. I don't quite get that. I just go to bed and try and get a good night's sleep. But interestingly, whenever I've looked at the data over the last number of months, I see that my least efficient night's sleep is a Sunday night. So even though I go to bed early, there must be something stirring in my mind that causes me to not sleep as deeply or as soundly as in other nights. So I want to offer a couple of practical steps that I can suggest to you to try and help ease yourself into that Monday. Number one, you see, before you finish work on a Friday, whatever type of work you do, try and close as many loops as you can. Try and get yourself, as it were, to close it as cleanly as possible. Now, you'll never fully do that, but for the Monday morning, actually write out a list of maybe 3 or 4 tasks or one thing that you need to crack on Monday. And so that you've thought about it, it's written down, it's a target. And when you've done that, in a sense, over the weekend, your nervous system will relax, knowing that there is a target to fixate upon and there is a plan. And that'll be some measure of reassurance. Now, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Who knows what Monday morning brings? I work in an employment with it works across international time zones. Sometimes you just open the computer and the first email sets the tone of the day, but at least if it doesn't and you have a plan, you can get on with it. But it's that getting from Sunday night to opening the computer first thing on the Monday morning. If you have a plan, that settles the nervous system. And then what I find is, even if everything goes wrong first thing Monday morning, you're in the flow, you're in the zone, and you almost don't care anymore, but you have to go in and attack it. So point number 2, what I would say, is something that I've talked about in the past. It's about dealing with anxiety, especially anticipatory anxiety. That feeling that you get, those thoughts that you get, you should name it. And it's basically what I'm going to teach is called naming it. Name it to tame it. By naming the thought, by being forensic, by expressing exactly what you're feeling and what you're thinking, or the story that you're telling yourself, it takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of what's happening and actually reduces the tension a little bit. Now, you may have to do this 100 times over the night, but you can say, there is the thought that I won't be able to handle this, or there is the anticipatory anxiety kicking in, there is the tension I'm feeling around the area of the solar plexus. If you can speak it, you name it, and then basically once you identify what you're feeling or what you're experiencing or what you're thinking, get into your own body, ground yourself, become aware of your environment, and then get on with whatever task you're trying to get on with, and try and just It's not that you're not thinking about it, you're not wrestling with it. Don't engage with it, don't fuse with it, don't wrestle with it. Name it and then get on with things. Other thing I could also recommend, I do very much believe in writing. Sometimes if you're really stressed, just get a blank couple of pages of notebook out and just write out whatever comes into your mind. It won't flow naturally, it won't flow evenly, but maybe after a couple of pages, what I'll sometimes find is I'll get into a flow, I'll write about what's troubling me, and it causes an integration and it helps settle things. The vague threats that I'm feeling start to feel finite. So the other final point I would make in terms of dealing with the Sunday scaries is get yourself squared away on Sunday night. This is the most important thing. Make sure your shirts are ironed, shoes are polished, you've taken your shower, you've got everything laid out, you've got your charger for your laptop in your bag, whatever it takes. I run checklists. Have it all done so that you know when you go out the door that you're as prepared as what you can be. Because what I often remember, even from my time in the army and also working everywhere else, is that when there's a failure, the first failure, everything else cascades. Don't ask me why it happens, I don't entirely know. But when one thing goes wrong, everything starts going wrong throughout the rest of the day. So that the maximum preparation that you can do actually prevents that first failure, which seems to push the other failures further down the road. An old saying in the army, time spent in recce is seldom wasted. I'm going to change that to time spent in preparation is seldom wasted. Get yourself squared away. Now to conclude, most of us do not have soul-fulfilling jobs. I think that is just the nature of the lot of man. I, as a Christian, will put it down to the fall of man. I think that as a result of the fall, that we have lost a lot of meaning in our work. Our work is troublesome, it causes us distress, and it's not always fruitful. And most of us are looking for meaning in life, and sometimes, our meaning, you can get a meaning from work and you can do something very rewarding for other people, and a lot of people find that in their work. But I would argue that meaning as well is retroactive. We don't actually necessarily experience meaning in the moment, but I can look back, certainly in the area of employment that I work, I know that my work does impact people for the good in the nature of the products and the services and how I work and deliver that to them. But all I can really do is be faithful in the moment, and knowing that if I do the next right thing, overall meaning of my life will be derived from that. And by the end of the Friday, I think in preparation for even the Monday that's about to come, I have to ask myself this question: did I carry a load this weekend? Did I leave my office and the people within my office in surplus? For most of us, work is not optional. It is definitely part of being human. It's hard, it's costly, and it binds us in responsibility to other people. And that gives me a good reframe whenever I'm thinking about going into work, because the one thing I probably fear about life is that no one needs me. Now, that's just me and how I feel about things. I can't think of anything worse than being retired and sitting in the house at 2 o'clock on a freezing cold January with the wind and the rain blowing outside. I want to be where people need me, where I'm contributing, where I'm shaping, and where I'm helping. So I fear that probably more than what I fear work, and I sometimes use that as a means to help me orient me towards the work. And I would say to you this as well: if the Sunday scaries show up, it doesn't mean you're broken. It probably means that you're conscientious, that you're carrying weight, that you are standing at the edge of responsibility again, and that is a good thing. The answer to this is not escape. I think it is finding that 1 day or 2 days during the week where there is a period of restoration, revival, and renewal. But too often we have turned our weekends into times of escape. And I think the way to think about this as well is whenever we are looking and thinking about work, it's about an orientation, it's about having a plan, it's a posture. It's that whenever we are going to go into work, we attack it, because I think if you don't go in hard, you can get hurt. So I think when we have to go in on Monday and we have to go in, we go in hard. And I think we need to have short, medium and longer term horizons, something that we are working for and working towards, because where there is no vision, as we know, the people perish. If you don't have these goals, And they don't have to be big goals, you know, they can be just maybe just going on a holiday or taking a weekend away or going on a camping trip. Just these things that to restore the soul. And because the one thing I will say is that if you're not thinking along those lines and thinking in restoration, and if you're only getting sucked into the doom loop and digitally scrolling, it's not restorative. It's taking from you. And I think you need to be looking to the future and working towards something. So if this resonated with you, you're not broken. I think you're human. I think you're just standing at a transition point. And in a sense, all I have to offer you, and this is a challenging thing, in some ways existentially, we just have to deal with this. But I think it needs courage to bridge the gap between Sunday night and Monday morning. And courage comes in different forms, and you will find your own way to be courageous. But then when Monday morning comes and you've been courageous, you have to go in and attack and hit Monday morning hard. And I think the more often we do that, the more confidence we gain in our ability to deal with things, and you will be enough. You will be able to deal with any challenge that things throw at you. And the more you're prepared to lean in, the more you will start to trust in your own skills to manage anything that is handed to you. So listen, I really appreciate your time listening. If you found this an interesting video essay, please do, of course, give me a thumbs up. I'm always interested to hear your comments. I try and respond to as many as I can. And of course, I would appreciate a subscription if you enjoy this content. So thanks for tuning in.